All right, welcome back to Off the Tap. This week is episode 62, and we're doing Saloon Door Brewing Company's Doc Hoppiday.
Doc Hoppiday, Doc Hoppiday. I wonder if
Uh,
we didn't even check online to see. Obviously, the website's under construction as a warning for the homework that we hand out today. If you're looking to find any fun facts on this one, you're gonna have to wait until the construction's done on the website. But I wonder how many different themes they have that are Wild West, that are iconic
hmm.
Western figure because of them being Saloon Door Brewing.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, they have some of their stuff listed on here, but there's not a lot of like pictures of them, so I don't know.
Also, I'm gonna say this. I don't think we like all along the way we always find, not that we're trying to pick everything apart, right? But we'll talk about how like amazing the atmosphere is at the brewery. We've never visited this one, or I haven't personally visited this one, but we'll talk about how amazing the atmosphere is at the brewery and how great they do with like food service and just like the
Hmm.
atmosphere. But then their cans will like we're just not a big fan of their branding, or vice versa. Like the branding on their can is phenomenal, and then you're just like in this case, that's what I'm alluding to. I know that they're not pre-printed cans, but like I love the imagery that's on this can, and it's like
Yeah,
epic. Um, from the font to just like the color schemes, they got the little hop cowboy with his beautiful mustache.
and
Um,
Mustachio.
all all of that is awesome, and then their website's under construction. So there's always going to be something that
Yeah,
makes there's always room for improvement. Hence the lack of 42s that we pass across the board.
yeah. I mean, there's always something, especially with these like smaller craft breweries, right? I mean, they're always working on something, which is good. That's the whole point of
Hmm.
it.
If you
They
don't
don't
shoot, yeah.
they don't have a lot of other actually like southern or western uh branded beers actually. They have a Hop Wayne for
Okay.
John Wayne. And then they have Dat Dildo Pickle Gose or Gose.
A lot of words were pronounced there. I'm not sure if all of them were pronounced accurately.
Oh no, it's Dat Dildo Pickle Gose.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
like Dat Dildo. Yeah.
if you're gonna homework that and you're gonna do a little bit of Googling with caution, I would just warn you, probably.
Yeah. Maybe let's not Google that one first. Um,
Yeah.
but
Do
yeah, I
that one
mean,
near the end of the night when you're gonna erase the history anyways, that kind of thing.
yeah. When you're clearing the history, anyways, go ahead and hit that one. But other than that, I don't see a lot of. I don't even know if Dat Dildo one is considered like Western or not. But
Bro, are
the
you
Doc
sure that
Hoppiday,
you're saying that correctly?
dude, it's DAT space DILL space DOE space pickle goze. That's
Oh,
how you
I
say it.
think I think they're like doe as in deer, a female deer.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. That's what it is.
Dude,
But
you
it's
missed
a
the
play on
opportunity.
words. What was I supposed to
Ray,
say?
a drop of golden sun. No, the sound of music. Nobody. All right,
Oh
yeah.
no, that one I missed that
I know
one.
I know we normally just like vote to leave it in, but there's a chance you might want to cut that one. Anyway, doe as in a female deer.
Yeah, I guess that's what they're going for. But also, it's a pickle, so dill. They threw the dill and then made it funny with the dough. I respect it. It's a good try.
I
You
mean, it
know?
wasn't a stretch. I'm just saying, like somebody had to like that multiple sets of eyes saw that before they were just like, yeah, print it.
Yeah, right.
So
Exactly.
okay.
It's a funny play on words. So yeah, we're doing the Doc Hoppiday. Like we said, this is a hazy IPA coming in at 6.4%.
I,
Which is
I got six.
pretty.
I got 6.8 on the can.
Oh, okay. So again, this is the differences we get with smaller breweries.
I'm so disappointed that we can't share an IBU because I think everybody's going to be interested in where it rates as far as
Yeah.
IBUs, considering it's an IPA.
Yeah, I think that is a little weird to me that there's no uh information on the IBUs considering that it is an IPA because usually those are like that beer is like the reason an IBU scale was invented, I feel like,
Probably
you know.
so. They were just like, you know how people will say like on a scale from 1 to 10 or on a scale from like sane to out of their mind, and they'll like sometimes throw in like the crazy end of the spectrum. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that like on a scale from like not bitter and then it used to be IPA, and they were like, why don't we come up with a scale that kind of tells us in between?
Yeah, that's
Um,
that would be what that is for sure.
I did want
Uh,
to. Go ahead.
no, what were you saying? Sorry.
I was gonna look. So Webster, Texas, based
Yes.
out of the old Webster, Texas, which is straight south of Houston. For those that are unfamiliar, right, about halfway between Houston and Galveston, on that 45 stretch, long before you hit the Causeway area. So southeast Houston, if you will.
Okay, I was actually confused of where that was as well. So very solid. I wonder what their aesthetic is. I can't really like find a good. I'm sure I could actually just Google the Saloon Door Brewing place, but I wonder if they actually have legit saloon doors as doors.
Oh, I mean, if they're not, then I can tell you right now, I'm cutting all their scores in half, regardless of what they
Because
taste like.
the inside of this building that all these people are in on their website looks very modern.
Holy shnikes. Not what I was expecting at all on the color or the pour.
Yeah, let us see.
Like not in a bad way. I mean, I've got a first off tremendous
Oh,
head that's going to dissipate, but and it is hazy. But do you see how it's very light? It's very timid,
mm.
very
I mean,
light.
that's not super uncommon.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's beautiful, and it's look at that though. Look, I mean, I wish you could get into the oh
Oh
look at
yeah,
oh you
call it
see
the Belgium
focus
dip.
it the old Belgium dip.
You know. Oh God. All right, I'm gonna get into it and taste it because I know you just poured yours, but I'm gonna taste it. It
I
might have
mean,
been sitting here.
from the distance, it smells IPA-ish. It smells thick. It smells souffle-ish. Whoa. Good reaction, bad reaction. Don't start tearing it apart at this point. I've still got to give it a sipski.
No, I'm not gonna say anything yet.
Oh
Um,
man.
it's an IPA though. I will say
Yeah.
that it's an IPA. It's very bitter, very hoppy, I guess is the correct term.
Yeah, but it doesn't finish dry. It doesn't finish like it's still like I don't I think we've talked about this many times. But certain IPAs, they hit you right up front with the hops and they just suck it's like beer cotton mouth. They just suck all
Yeah.
of the that saliva
You
out of you.
know,
I don't get that.
you know what so I'm pretty sure what I have learned over my past few years of dabbling into the IPA scene is that the hazy IPAs don't finish like that. But
Maybe there's something to do with the clarification process that does it.
I think it's like listen, I could be completely wrong. Don't take my word for this. But I think they're like the hazy IPAs are more fruity.
Okay.
So I think that helps a lot with like the bitterness or the dryness of a typical IPA. And I only recently heard that uh, because of Carbach's new release, Hopadillo Hazy IPA.
Oh, they have a Hopadillo hazy. That we're not talking about them today, but
No, I just
they
wanted
have
to
a
throw it out there. The knowledge
they have a hazy version of that.
just released, yeah,
Okay. Nice.
yeah. So yeah, I think that's the difference. Also, well, not us, but previously on the podcast, we've done two other hazy IPAs and two regular IPAs,
You didn't
and
even
one
let me prompt you with the question. I was wondering that, but sorry,
and
back up. You've done two hazies and two regulars.
and a double, yeah. And well, this is what I talked about, or I mentioned it a few weeks ago. The double IPA that I had on this podcast is still to this day my favorite IPA I've ever had.
I'd love to know, and I guess I should know this, but is it the process that makes it a double IPA, or is that just a marketing claim?
I wish I knew as well. I assume that's a process.
Gotcha.
They probably double hop it or whatever. However that works. I'm not a brewmaster. We'd love to have one on so they could tell us, but
And one day, dude,
one
you
day
know
it'll
what's so
happen.
crazy? I mean, obviously there's people out there that do it day in and day out, but like People ask me all the time. They're like, "Do you ever get overwhelmed with like all of the different combinations or things in your head that you can do with food or whatever?" Not tooting my own horn. I'm just saying people ask me all the time. They're like, "How do you know what pairs with what? And how do you know if you're given something random, how to make something out of it?" And I guess you just learn it over time, right? You educate yourself. But still, for the life of me, I can't understand how brewmasters understand all of the different nuances and can say like, "Oh, if I'm targeting this and I'm looking at this style, even though I'm doing it in a different country and I'm doing it with different resources, this is what I'm targeting." Like they have a pretty good roadmap in their head as they start. They know I need to do this. They know I need to do this. They know I need to do that. That's
Yeah.
pretty mind blowing considering them have taking, if we're staying true to the art, taking 4 to 5 ingredients and creating 150,000 different beers or whatever, how many ever there are. I mean, I'm sure there's, 500, 700,000 different beers. Like, can you imagine? Like, that would be like, look, I love breakfast tacos just like the every other man, and they're all slightly different. But can you imagine if you only had eggs, one type of tortillas, and two types of meat, and you could make 500,000 different breakfast tacos? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Craft brewmasters are like the Sonic of beer makers.
Oh, real quick, man. I was trying to do the math. I'm like, hedgehog that collects rings? I don't know. I mean,
No.
maybe. That's
Yeah, they're
crazy.
doing it with speed, you know?
But
No.
you mean
I mean
America's
the
Drive-In.
yeah, yeah, America's Driving. Don't they have like a million different drink combinations or whatever?
I think that was a big campaign they had, like over 1 million or whatever different options. But yeah, brewmasters are that.
That's
It's
cool.
refreshing. Also,
This beer
my
is
vision,
refreshing or brewmasters are refreshing?
the beer. I mean, I guess brewmasters, depending on what kind of group of people you run with, they could be refreshing.
Okay.
Um, uh, I Dude, this one's good. This one's better than I thought it was going to be. I thought right out of the
Yeah.
gate I was going to have to struggle through. I guess I say that every week. IPAs aren't my, uh, you know,
IPAs are not your favorite.
not my cup of pint, but
I
it's
like
still
that.
pretty good.
I like
Yeah.
that. That's a good shirt.
Um, but I think this one's enjoyable. I think the problem is that like I always overdo it with them. That's a common problem.
Like
I'm more
like you go on a phase and like drink too much of them during the phase, or like you drink too much in one sitting.
Yeah, like all in one night. You're just like, oh, you
Hmm.
go out, we're gonna try some IPAs, and it's like there's like 8 of them later, and you're like, I want to die, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I can kind of understand that because as you drink IPAs, they get better. Not that they're bad when you start. I mean, I enjoy them when you start, but the more, I mean, it's kind of like this with every beer, but IPAs in particular to me, the more you drink, the better they get. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you mean like the multiple different ones, not the same exact one. You mean like the more variations of them you drink, the more you like them. Am I interpreting that correctly?
Well, now that you say it like that, yes. But I meant the same the other way as well.
Oh,
Like
okay.
if you're just sitting there, I think it's because IPAs do hit me harder, typically because they're a little bit higher in percentage than most other beers. But like I don't know, it just starts to flow and it eases me down a path of wanting more of them. You know?
This is definitely not, I don't want to jump ahead, and this is definitely not my YYBD, but like, oh, if you're drinking IPAs, your YYBD could be nothing, is basically what you're saying.
Yeah, I would be sleeping after or
Yeah, that's what
during.
I'd be like. What would
I'd
you
be
be
gone.
doing if you were drinking these? I'd probably be open eye napping. That's what I'd be doing. Upright open eye napping. Browning out for sure.
Br- Browning out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Open eye napping, bro. Can you do that?
I can, but only when under extreme
Like,
circumstances.
like, are you conscious or are you gone? Like you're asleep, your eyes are just open.
Well, I was obviously being, playful in my wording to
Oh,
like, blacken out.
well,
But
I was being very, very specific.
I have been known to sleep with my eyes open occasionally.
That's horrifying. That
It
would be a
is.
horrifying thing to walk by on. You just walk in and be
Hmm.
like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And you did nothing. Just
From the outside perspective, yes, it's horrifying. For me on the inside, I don't know the difference. Also, it's kind of talent, you know?
It's like a superpower. It also
Yeah.
leaves you very vulnerable to dust particles, though.
Yeah, and dude, you think waking up after at least sleeping with your mouth open is
Oh
bad?
God. Can you
Yeah,
even close your eyelids after that? They just crust over?
dude, I'm sure that your body is still voluntarily or involuntarily blinking.
Mm, maybe. We don't know. We'd have to record you doing it to find out.
Yeah, enough about that. But onward to Saloon Door.
Yeah.
6.8 alcohol. But what would you, I mean, could you even guess at what IBUs? I'm so all over the place. That's the thing. We've had beers on here where you're like, oh, it's 24. And I taste it and I'm like, it should be 3. And then there's beers where you're like, it's 28. So are they logarithmic? Like, why are they so crazy?
Listen, it based on this, based on our list and the previous IPAs I have done on here. See, this is where it gets weird though, because we got some IPAs at like 60, 65, right? IBUs. We got the
Yeah.
double IPA coming in at 58. And then we got the hazy IPA coming in at 20.
Oh, yeah. So maybe, but not all of them. But I guess they are I don't want to say a light version. They're not like, Budweiser
A
versus
light
Bud Light.
IPA.
Yeah, I think maybe they just don't hit as hard. Also, dude, I've realized this and I completely forgot to bring it up earlier. But every time that you drink an IPA, like if you look at an empty glass from across the room, you know there was an IPA in it. It
Yeah.
really, the remnants always cling to the glass, regardless
Yeah,
of
it
how slow
does.
or fast that you drink it.
Also, it's one of the most um, scent forward beers on the
Scent
market.
forward. Okay.
Like you can tell when someone's been drinking one. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It's almost like just leaving a nugget of weed out. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's
It,
what it smells like.
and equally as sticky. I mean, the other thing I was going to say is like you
That's
spill
sticky,
two
sticky.
different beers. Like you spill, a Coors Light or something on a table, and you spill an IPA. When you come back, there's going to be like small animals trapped in the IPA
Yeah, they're
stickiness.
just like it's like those rat traps, the glue
Yeah,
rat traps. Dude, I have a horrifying story about that. By the way, one of those.
go
So,
ahead, send it.
yeah, I mean, might as well. We're just going way off here, but we had so we have like a bar in our backyard, right? Enclosed, and there was rats in there. So we were trying to get them out, and we threw down one of those glue rat traps. And I came out the next day, and there was 4 rat paws and a rat tail stuck to it. And I
Yeah,
was
like it.
like, damn, like it got stuck, and then a cat said, "Thank you for that dinner."
Oh, I thought you were going like the. This is way in the weeds, but like a raccoon when it gets trapped will chew its limb off to
Yeah,
get
but
untrapped.
there was no rat, like there was no rat body anywhere near.
Oh,
And there was no
that's pretty
blood. It was really weird.
So you started out with a rat problem. Now you have an infestation of feral cats. Good lord.
Yeah, now we got cats everywhere, but no rats. So,
Yeah, I guess it's
you
a
know,
win-win.
yeah. I mean, you take one over the other. The feral cats don't really mess with you. I mean, the rats weren't really messing with us, but they were chewing shit, you know?
Yeah, I'd much rather have feral cats. Like the worst thing that's gonna happen with a feral cat is like attitude at a distance. It's not
Yeah,
like yeah.
like a stare down.
Yeah,
That's
like in
really,
passing, it's just like and you're like, you
yeah,
don't even live here. I've been providing the
yeah,
free mice. Come on.
yeah. Your food comes from my food. So,
Get out of here.
yeah. All right, well, we need to get back on topic here.
Sorry, and we're bringing her back.
Yeah, I'm bringing
So
her back. Bring her back in.
to follow the Saloon Door theme, not only because it's Saloon Door Brewing, but also because it's Doc Hoppiday. That's a great play on words.
Incredible.
Let's talk. Let's talk a little bit about Western movies, Western films, Western actors, things that you think of, things that you enjoy from the Western genre of movies. Shoot.
Yeah, I mean, unironically, uh, for my favorite Western movie to date is Tombstone.
Right.
So, I watch it at least twice a year, probably.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful movie. It's so well done, and the actors that are in it, my God, I mean, freaking, Val Kilmer. as freaking Doc Holliday, you know?
It's extremely quotable. I don't know, like,
Incredible.
its historical accuracy, but I will say this, like, having seen many different renditions, because there was what was the there was Wyatt Earp that had like Kevin
Yeah.
Costner in it. Still a solid movie, but there's been a lot of different renditions of, telling the Earp story and the OK Corral and all of like the Kansas Dodge City Law Dogs and Tombstone and
Oh.
stuff. But that one to me is the most well done. It's the most quotable. Anyways, it just has all of the things that you want as far as entertainment are concerned. But I don't know how like historically accurate it is. I don't think anybody cares. I've never seen anybody pick it apart.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing. I went on one of my trips to San Diego. We on our way back, we went through and stopped in Tombstone. Okay. Because we saw the sign on the way there, and I was like, I want to do that because I love the damn movie. So
Yeah.
we go in, we stop in. I go to one of the bars. I get a beer, a local beer from there. It was actually really great. I don't remember the name of it, but I had the can somewhere. Anyways, I'm drinking the beer and we're talking to the bartender, this lady, and we're talking about, obviously the movie and whatnot. And she was like, "Yeah, I mean, it's a good movie, but it's not really completely accurate, and it doesn't really give a lot of historical like value to what Tombstone actually is, like what Tombstone, Arizona actually is." And I was like, "Yeah, I get it," but I didn't realize that entire movie, everything that played out in that movie, was a 2 week thing, like in
Yeah.
real life. It was only 2 weeks worth of shit that happened, and like they just ran into these people at the same town that they had been bickering with for a while, and all that shit turned up. Like just all that stuff happened. But I mean, the OK Corral and stuff is, I mean, all that stuff did happen, the shootout and stuff. But the accuracy of everything else, I'm not 100% sure.
Well, I mean, I think different movies again play, especially depending on if they're targeting different members of that were involved in the situation. But like, no, he was a lawman in, I think it was Dodge City or something like that, Kansas, and he did it for years and years and years, and then he left to like give it up because he didn't want to live that lifestyle anymore. And then so he had just arrived there whenever things were going
He
down,
just wanted to just deal cards, right?
like retire. Well, no, I don't even think he wanted to do that. I think they just wanted to kind of retire out there, but being the I mean, he was ambitious always, right? So,
Yeah.
being as ambitious as he was, I'm sure that's why they got um involved in saloons and stuff, and then obviously immediately he's I think you're just drawn to, I think he was the kind of person that was just drawn to that, being not just a leader but law and order kind of situation. And
Mm.
so when you're programmed that way, that's your mentality. It's going to lead you to try to create order where there's chaos, and obviously Tombstone was going through a very brief period of invasive chaos that he was like, I must order, and but ended up being a shit show, obviously.
Well, for them, yeah, but it wasn't really like none of the citizens really were screwed over. I
I
think
mean,
a couple
I would
were, but
I would imagine there was a lot of collateral. I would believe. I mean, just the town alone. Even if you look at just like the shootout was one day, and
oh, it
then
was like 20 minutes.
yeah, exactly. So imagine, but there was still collateral too of like I'm sure there was stress that was added to the city. They were also trying to constantly build. Okay, real quick, I'm going to tie it back to Western movies. We're going to continue down this pathway, but one thing I just thought of, bro, I know that the West was like, kind of a lot of transient towns as they were expanding west. People were going for different things. But in every single Western movie, and I, again, homework, I charge you to do the research on this. They're always building or tearing something down, which I guess isn't different from by today's standards. It's just weird because it's built out of wood, you
What do
know?
you mean, like in the movies, they're just always like building something back up?
Yeah, there's not a single town, like Clint Eastwood flick, John Wayne flick, whatever, where the horse riders, come in from the open prairie. They come into the main town, and there's like a bank, there's a jail, and then there's something that's under construction. And later on in the film, there's going to be a shootout, and they're going to take refuge in the area that's not completely built. Okay, this is
Yeah.
like it's like a checklist that as a Western movie producer, you had to make sure that you covered. Reality, possibly. However, I think they overplayed it just a tad bit. Also, ricochet sounds. Why are we putting ricochet sounds into every shootout scene? I've shot a lot of things, okay? And I've never heard a ricochet sound in my entire life. And I'm talking metal, I'm talking rocks, I'm talking trees, brick, cars.
If we really want to get into ricochet sounds though, that's going to be a James Bond talk.
Okay, maybe more fitting there, but dude, so many ricochet sounds in Western films.
Especially considering most of everything they were shooting into was wooden.
Exactly. How
Yeah.
how are we getting what anomaly was happening in that time period? Was the air different that it was just creating ricochet?
It's all theatrics, man. It's all theatrics. Let's be honest. Do we even know that that's what the West was really like? Or
I
was this
mean,
just fictitious lore?
I don't know. I go back and think about this.
I
Like,
mean, is John Wayne even a real cowboy? You know what I mean?
wait a second,
Hold
Pilgrim.
on. He's speaking something. Let him
No, I
cook.
mean, there's so many time periods way before the Western era where we have pretty good recorded record. I think by Western days we had some pretty solid record keeping and some
No,
pretty
no,
solid.
it definitely happened because in my trip to Tombstone, we went to the Birdcage Theater. So they when they made the movie, they did not
Yeah.
record it there
No,
because
I imagine
Hollywood.
it was.
The lady told us that Hollywood went in and wanted to redo everything, like do upkeep and stuff to the buildings and not upkeep, but like put a facade up basically. And they were like, no, we're not. You're not touching all the original building. So when we go into the Birdcage Theater, you see bullet holes everywhere,
Yeah.
everywhere, all over the walls, the floors, the pillars that are in there. Like it's crazy, and some of them still had bullets lodged in them.
I've never been to. Are the streets still dirt in that area or no?
Um, yes and no. It's like
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's like concrete covered with dirt.
I see.
You know what I mean? But all of like the sidewalks and stuff are all wooden still. Like it's not, none of that. All the buildings are still original. I mean, obviously with AC implemented into them and stuff like that, but like it's all where it can be original,
Dude,
which is pretty cool.
speaking back to Western movies, that's something that always just gets me, you know. It's like, can you imagine if just like when it rained, like the whole city turned to just slop?
Mud. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they were tracking
Horrible.
it in everywhere.
Oh yeah. Tracking it into your bed and shit too all the time. Like not even just the floors, you're just tracking it everywhere.
Plus, it was summer, and you were like in a 3-inch thick wool freaking trench coat,
Yeah, because you
and
just came down off the mountain where it was freezing.
yeah, dude, it's just that there's so many rough times.
Horrible. It's not something that I would want to live through. I would not want to live in that time period because of that, right? The heat and cold that is involved. Because in the desert, in the desert like that, it's freezing cold at night, super
Yeah.
hot during the day, usually. The safety that I would not feel being just a normal. You don't even have to be a gunslinger, bro. You just at the bar, chilling, playing some poker, and like these people walk in and just decide, nope, not today, and just shoot people. You know what I mean? And that's not
Or
typically how
just
it went, but
or because there's just, a very high probability of accidental ricochet,
yeah,
obviously.
yeah,
Right?
that too. Yeah, or glass shards being broken, from ricocheted bullets and whatnot.
I
And
guess
then
one
third, freaking illness, dude.
yeah.
You get like one cut and you lose your leg.
I guess one could make the argument that if you weren't frequenting somewhere that had a potential transient rough around the edges um, audience that you would be safe.
Clientele.
Yeah. The other thing that always
Yeah,
gets me
but
is
like
like,
that's what else do you do? Like you go to work, like you go prospect in a mine, and then what do you do with the rest of your day? Like there's nothing else to do other than go to the bar.
I mean, I would say a lot of it is just like surviving. People spend a lot of time just surviving.
Yeah, but you got to
Um,
get away from that every now and then, man. I mean,
if you have the luxury, I would assume. The other thing that's crazy is like we think we need hotels now. Like on the real, back then, people were just like living in them, kind of, because they just couldn't have like they had no other means to have their own homestead. Like think about it now. I'm not saying it's easy by any means, but like there's like communal living, like apartments and like
right.
there's different, you know what I'm saying? Like there's different levels of like what you can, but back then it was like, oh, you can't afford 700 acres to work cattle on? Well, then you're homeless. There was no really in between,
Yeah.
right?
There was no like small plots of land.
No, I mean, maybe you could go work for somebody and live on their property, possibly, but like if you were trying to go it alone, that's why I think there was just a large volume of like semi stable or semi there transient population that lived in these places. But like if the shit hit the fan or the bottom fell out of it, you just like pitch your shit to a horse and roll off. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing keeping you there.
Yeah.
It's not like you move there for the I mean, I guess people move there for the hopes of making a better living, but anyway.
Oh yeah, it was a silver mine, wasn't it? Or it wasn't gold, I don't think. It was like something else.
I don't remember Tombstone specifically.
I do know that there is a hotel, like not a modern hotel, like I mean, I'm sure it's been updated, but there's a hotel in Tombstone that you can stay at, and I very much wanted to, but I don't think it was accessible. So,
Yeah.
also, it's way out in the middle of fucking nowhere. Still, like it's like an hour drive down a long, long curvy path with nothing in between
To get to the city?
to get to Tombstone. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you go from Tombstone, even when you get back out to the main highway an hour later, there's like a gas station.
So what's so interesting to me is like, do you think they preserved it like as time went on, or do you think there was a lapse when like no one was there and then they were like, this is kind of important. We should go back
I
and
really
keep
don't
this
know.
relevant. It's
Maybe
a good question.
it is a good question because I think like there had to have been some people that stayed out there, right? Because it all is still pretty well kept for the most part.
Yeah.
But once the mines ran dry, I mean, obviously there was nothing else going on out there. You know what I mean?
No.
So they were just kind of like, well, we're here now. We just live here forever. I guess
Mur-
this is,
Murder and gunslingers for a couple of
yeah.
weeks.
I guess this is just where we're gonna. Maybe it was the gambling. Maybe the gambling kept people around, kept people coming through.
I would imagine, but wasn't that like, I mean, dude, that again, that was standard checklist for the West. It was like, you got a
Mhm.
church, yes. We got
But
somewhere we can gamble. We got somewhere we can have liquor. There's a whorehouse. That's it. Those are the four things that you need to sustain. And then like some random hardware store that an old man runs where they ship things in brown packages. That's
yeah,
five that you
yeah,
need to run an old Western town.
yeah. Also, I'm pretty sure that the roads were obviously different back then. Like they're not where they are now, right?
Yeah.
So I assume that it's probably a midpoint between like Yuma and something else. You know what I mean? So it's probably like I mean, fuck. I'm pretty sure even Yuma, like on a car drive, is like 5 hours from there, but that's like a day long trip on horseback. You know what I mean? So that's
Uh, for what was the distance?
I don't know. It's from Tombstone to Yuma, Arizona.
I think it's sad that they define him as an American gambler.
Doc
That's how
Holliday.
Wiki. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna I was gonna
Well, I mean
talk a little.
that's what he did, man. Even in the movie.
I mean later on, but I believe. Yeah, okay, so it's true. He was a dentist originally,
Yeah.
which thinking about it, between 1851 and
It's kind of a scam
1887.
job back then, right?
I mean, is it a scam now?
No, I don't think so.
Question.
Because we have a lot of health standards that they didn't have
Debatable
back then.
debatable amongst some. I'm tired of being upsold, but I do see the value in it, obviously. But back then, I
I
mean,
mean,
how
it's
many
only
people
really
were seeing it?
cosmetic,
How many? Well, sometimes the
functional.
pain is just too intense. But how many people back then had the luxury of seeing a dentist? I imagine his clientele was only the up and up.
Yeah, or people that just like needed something pulled real quick.
Yeah.
They would just probably go in and just get it pulled and pay him, something quick. But
Um.
but there's no like anesthesia or anything, so you're just throwing whiskey on that shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So obviously, that's where.
That's what I'm saying though. It's kind of a scam because like you're just going to somebody to painfully extract this tooth. Like just do it yourself. You know what I mean? Or just get one of your buddies to do it. Like it's going to be the same exact thing. What is he doing back then to keep your teeth healthy? You know, they're not
I
putting
don't
braces
know.
on you.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like you're right. I bet you back then none of it was cosmetic. It was all just like keep you alive. Because if your
Yeah,
teeth would rot or if
it
you had
was
such
like
intense pain,
had to be like infection related or something. Because there's no health
um,
standards.
so, real quick, there's actually photos online of his graduation photo in
How?
1872 because they had photos back then, obviously, from the Pennsylvania School of Dentistry.
Hmm.
Yeah. He was actually from Griffin, Georgia. Um, oh, here's the other thing that blows my mind. Absolutely blows my friggin' mind. Imagine this. This dude's a dentist, okay? A gambler, a gunfighter, okay? Technically, for a very short period of time, a false lawman, okay? He's involved in all of that stuff that's going on. He succumbs to tuberculosis, which we're going to talk about. Again, I have a quick story about us trying to track down his grave. But, anyways, all of this transpires. You think of the movie, you think of all the things that he's known for. Dude was dead by the time he was 36 years old.
Yeah.
Is that crazy?
Was it tuberculosis?
Yeah, tuberculosis.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, by 36 years old, he was dead and gone. So think about the legacy, or good and bad, I guess, that he left us with, and then gone at the age of 36.
Huge impact on a small western town for
Um,
being there for like a month. He was there before the Earps were, I think.
yes. Uh, I mean, he was in Dallas. He was in Pennsylvania, obviously. He was in Georgia. He was in Dallas. Think about how crazy that is.
That's like
Um,
90% of your life just traveling.
yeah, you never stayed anywhere. He knew Earp for about 10 years. He met him in 1877 when he was in Dodge City, and then knew him shortly thereafter. He was in New Mexico, and then obviously he ended up dying in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. That's where he had died,
Hmm.
which I was unaware of. I thought the whole time that like he just stayed for. I guess that is the West, but I just for some reason always thought he stayed out in Arizona and out that way. But he actually was in Colorado for quite a number of years before he died.
Yeah, I would have. I actually assumed that he died in Tombstone. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why, but just because of the movie, I guess, because he got so sick, or he was portrayed as being so sick in the movie. Like, I assume he just kind of shacked it up there and finished it out there. But that's crazy that he went all the way up to call. That's dude. Like, imagine being that sick and going, "All right, I'm gonna ride horseback up to Colorado."
Bro, I wouldn't even ride in an air conditioned Uber to the end of the street to check the mail,
No, no, I would
especially in a
not.
black trench coat in the summer or whenever the fuck.
Yeah,
Um,
no, absolutely not. Or the winter, for that matter.
yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly. I've never had tuberculosis. I don't know how, but obviously it's probably not that great.
I
There's
mean, you've
two
had
real,
colds. Tuberculosis is much worse than a cold.
yeah, there's kind of two fun facts that I was going to share about him. Um, One, we'll start with the death of Johnny Ringo, right? So in the movie, if we're going back to like that, so he was found in the desert with a gunshot wound inflicted to his temple. Okay. By all
Ringo?
account, yes.
Yeah.
By all accounts, it was a suicide. Okay. And then it was always a suicide until I think it was one of like Wyatt Earp's wives or something started connecting the dots that like, hey, yes, could have been a suicide, but like roughly around the same time, Earp and Holiday were out doing their shenanigans kind of close to where this guy was found. So on paper, it was a suicide, but could it have been like nobody really knows at this point. Obviously, he wasn't convicted because of the way that the coroner did it on the paperwork. So
Yeah.
did they do? But then there's this whole other like what do they call it? Not web sleuthing, but like this whole other like I don't want to use uh like subreddit, I guess, if you will, of people that are like, no, that was Earp's way of taking care of Holiday doing the deed, but making sure that he was not convicted of something of sorts. But it's never been confirmed one way or the other.
Yeah.
He was
Because
also out of his mind. Both of them were, but he was also very
yeah,
much
but
out of his mind.
Ringo is fucking crazy though.
That's what I'm saying. I think maybe he was just out of his mind.
Maybe just got super drunk and went out there and
Just popped one. Who knows?
maybe would he does the result thing say that he had a gun in his hand?
It doesn't say. It's just, it's ruled a death by suicide. So,
Hmm.
um,
Interesting.
so that's a crazy thing. But then also too, so if you go to Glenwood Springs, um, you can visit the cemetery that Doc Holliday is buried in, and he does have an official grave site. It's at the very top of the hill. It's kind of centralized in the actual cemetery itself, and you can visit it. But the problem is this: is that no one really knows where he was buried, and the reason being is because the day of his funeral, it flooded like a son of a bitch, and so they were trucking him up this hill. I mean, it's a pretty massive hill today, but they're trucking him up the hill again, horse and wagon, with the coffin, and there's pretty like 99% of people are just like they gave up. They were like, we just can't do it. So they just found a spot along the road and just buried him there, but unmarked. And
And then they
so,
just left the headstone up top.
and then they just a memorial up top. So no, I mean, I'm sure now they could probably confirm and or deny that, but like that's where the story goes. Is he there under the ground at that spot where, by the way, I'm not saying that it's not protected, which is crazy. Like it's not secluded or anything, but people don't always treat it the best. Like when you go there, there's going to be probably 50, 60 ace of spades and a bunch of bottles of empty whiskey,
Yeah.
like just that are just going to litter the area. I mean, and they obviously take care of the rest of the cemetery, but it's pretty certain that his body's actually not there. It's just somewhere randomly along the road as you're going up, and nobody knows.
Interesting. So
Yeah,
how are you supposed to be able to find out? You have to take like equipment out there to like
I
find a
would
hole in the ground.
I would imagine so. I'm sure that they can. Yeah,
We're gonna need a confirmation on that from somebody.
this is crazy. Also, his last words were, "This is funny. I always figured I'd be killed someday with my boots on."
Huh.
Pretty honest.
That's the most Western way to die I think ever that I've ever heard. Other than like actually dying in a shootout or like a standoff. Like that's the most Western thing you could say ever. I
Yeah.
always thought I would die with my boots on. That's that's crazy.
Yeah.
He listen, I again, like I said, Tombstone's my favorite movie. Doc Holliday is my favorite character out of the and that movie. I mean, I love the Earp brothers. Like why you love Wyatt Earp, you have to love Wyatt Earp in that. Virgil. I mean, especially considering it's Sam freaking Elliott. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. They're all great, but man, Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday is just it has to be like it has to be one of cinema's greatest redemption arcs, right?
What do you mean, as far as like just the character himself?
Yeah, like the way he's just kind of like just doesn't really care what's going
Yeah,
on, and then at the end he's like, "Oh no, now I care now
yeah.
because you fucked with my Earp brothers."
I do love the way that the whole entire time that he refuses to wear the badge
Yeah,
and only uses it as an excuse later on so that he can kind of justifiably kill his arch enemy.
yeah, and I mean,
Dude, I
just
mean,
sick as a dog, just comes out of the woodworks to help. You know.
I think he was just figured. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve the credit. Obviously, he probably felt like shit every day, but he also probably had that click in his mind, like, I'm gonna fucking die anyway. You know. Um,
Probably. It's also real.
the
So you mentioned earlier that there's also the Wyatt Earp movie, right, with
yeah,
Kevin Costner, and that follows the Earp brothers, or specifically Wyatt Earp and his trip through Tombstone, but it goes through a bunch of other stuff. But it goes through their trip through Tombstone, which is a very short part of that movie, basically just the OK Corral shootout. But can you imagine? That's really how it is for them. That's how it was, right?
what
Like
do you
that's
mean?
such a they literally just pulled up to Tombstone.
Yeah.
Their brother got shot in the back and killed,
Yep.
and then they got in a shootout with these people and then left. That's pretty much. I mean, I get it. Like we've been saying, that's just kind of how westerns were, but or like how the West was. But it's just kind of crazy to think about that. Like in 2 weeks, you roll up to this new town, do some gambling, some drinking. Boom, your brother gets shot dead in the back while playing some pool. You get real pissed off at these people. You kill some of them.
Dude, like we said 2 weeks ago, it's because it was hot and everybody was wearing wool.
Yeah,
I would hate the fucking world too. I was like, who are these guys? And then I would be like, we should probably kill them. And
yeah, that's true.
maybe thinking we're doing them a favor. The other thing that's crazy about this, I know we're not going off because this is, Doc Hoppiday, but dude, Doc died when he was 36 years old. Okay.
Mm.
Wyatt Earp was 80. Is that not mind blowing?
How old was he during Tombstone stuff? Do you know?
I mean, so that would have been like 80,
He was
like
definitely older than Doc Holliday, right?
1882. So he was born in 1848, and Doc Holliday was born in 1851. So a couple years,
A
3 years
couple
older.
years. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. I wonder if the Earp brothers went to his funeral.
Holidays, no, they didn't find out till 2 months afterwards.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Message by bird, you know.
There wasn't any online obituaries or anything like that.
No text messages going out. Hey yo,
They,
the homie
they didn't get
died.
it. They weren't added to a Facebook group.
Yeah.
One last thing I was going to include before we move on. We've talked about it a little bit, but all-star cast, bro, and there's some people hidden in there, right? So, um, you've got obviously Val Kilmer, okay? You've got Bill Paxton as Morgan,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Virgil as Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott as
Um,
Virgil.
yeah, Sam Elliott as Virgil. Um,
Although,
you've
let's be
got
honest with ourselves, Virgil now in modern times would probably play Sam Elliott in a movie.
possibly, yes.
You
It's
know?
kind of like it's like that old cliche of Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
Uh, but dude, Billy Bob Thornton,
Yes. What? Who is he?
he's the dude at Dylan Sparrow at the table that they kick out of the freaking room.
Yes.
Remember? He slaps him across the face. It's a
Yeah.
chunky Billy Bob, but yeah, it's a chunky
Yeah.
Billy Bob Thornton. Um, dude, Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell.
Dude,
Yes. Which one is he in that?
Kurt Russell is Wyatt Earp.
Oh yeah. 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 That's right. For some reason, I kept thinking Kevin Costner. I don't.
No, no,
But
no. Kevin
that's the Wyatt
Costner's
Earp
not in it.
movie. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
No, you're right.
Powers, like you don't like you probably don't remember him, but he was in a lot of shit. Powers Booth. He's like the main cowboy, the kind of Mexican looking cowboy that's Johnny Ringo's buddy.
Mm-hmm.
real yeah,
The one that's
crazy.
almost like what's his name from Smokey and the Bandit? What's that guy? That's who he
Uh,
reminded me of. That's who he always reminds me
kind
of. But mainly
kind
because of
of.
like mainly just because of the style that they're like wearing. You know what I mean?
Dude, Billy Zane, who obviously became stuff later. That was the weird like performer guy that
Mm.
Billy Nilly was in love with. Dude. Yeah, just a lot of folks.
Also, is crazy that because Wyatt Earp did wind up marrying the girl that he met in Tombstone, right?
I don't know. I don't think that's the case. I really don't think that was the case. I think that was probably just for the storyline. But
Do we think that's just the story, like just for the movie, or do you think that all that actually happened, like the infidelity part of it? I guess.
oh, I'm sure. I mean, bro, it was the 1800s.
I mean, yeah,
We
I
were
get
keeping
it, but I
tabs
feel
on how we were today.
yeah, but I mean, I feel like I feel like the Earp brothers like weren't really about that.
Maybe not, but I mean, he wasn't a saint. He wasn't a saint.
Well, no, obviously he was murdering people.
Murder or was it justice? Okay, that's a very
Well,
fine line.
you know, yeah, it's fair, I think. But like,
Dude,
also, it's still probably murder. You know,
I mean,
you
slightly.
don't get like a trial by jury or anything.
Now, we ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
Oh wait, the WWYBD.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't know if you were. I thought you were asking if I was ready for some more facts. I was definitely ready for some
Oh,
more
well,
facts.
I would actually, to be honest with you, Charleston Heston is also in this movie, but I don't know, like, I don't remember the character Henry Hooker, so probably not the biggest name in all of it, but yeah.
Real quick, do you have a favorite scene from Tombstone?
I mean, I probably have. I mean, they're all so iconic, but I
Mm-hmm.
would say probably one of my favorite parts that I wait for and enjoy every single time that it happens is right after Wyatt, you know, rids the the saloon of the Faro dealer, right? And so Billy Bob's coming to shoot him, right, in the street. And that's when they meet Doc Holliday, right? That's the introduction to him.
Yeah.
And what I think so, there's two things that happen in the scene that are so hilarious. One, he says, "Why, Johnny Tyler, where are you going with that shotgun?" And obviously, he's had a run in with him before, so he's paranoid. And he sits there and he stands there. And then the whole interaction happens with him in the law. Like you obviously see him go up and shake Wyatt's hand and give him a hug, shake the brothers' hands, and then the mayor walks up and the sheriff walks up and they try to introduce themselves and he goes, "Forgive me if I don't shake hands." So that's
Oh.
hilarious. But also the fact that Billy Bob Thornton just hangs out the whole time and then he goes, "Oh, I forgot you were there. You may go now. Like,
Yeah.
let me dismiss you at my time." Very iconic. So I would say that's probably one of my favorite scenes of all time. And then the second one is when they're in the thick of it and they're running after the Cowboys and they're trying to chase them down. And it's right after they do the big barrage across the creek where they just go out and they're shooting fire and it's just
Yeah.
crazy. And they ask, when I can't remember who it is, ask, "Where's Wyatt?" And that's when Doc Holliday responds, "Down by the river, walking on water."
Yeah.
Because obviously he's of a supernatural spirit or whatever. But those are probably my two favorite scenes. And they're just small snippets that always include him, but they're great.
So
Yours.
I think my favorite scene from Tombstone is the whiskey cup
Oh
slam
yeah.
when he's just absolutely killing it and just making everybody freaking laugh at this dude in the freaking at the bar.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the most, at least the most recognizable from a distance. People that haven't seen the movie know that that scene is from the movie,
Yeah.
which
It's
should
just
be a very short audience, a very short number of people, by the way.
yeah. But it's so good. I mean, could you imagine being punked like that now?
Oh,
You know?
it it would be the ultimate burn from top to bottom.
It would be. It would end up on TikTok so fast. You would never live it down. It'd be on social media everywhere, dude. You would get bullied out of your britches, out of your boots, you know?
They would literally be like, watch this burn, and they would show the clip, and they would be like, this dude doesn't deserve to live. And because it was the Wild Wild West, people might go kill him, bro. It's just, it was a different time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was a very bold move. Very cool move. Okay.
All right.
WWYBD time. Let's get into it.
All right. If I kick it off, so mine is, and this is way before. I didn't even put the two and two together. Now that we talked a lot about Tombstone, but for me, it's old town exploring. But let me be very, very clear. I don't mean like Tombstone. I was thinking like South Carolina, like Georgia, like you go to like these riverboat tours, you go on these mansion tours, you go on these ghost tours, things like that. I would see myself sipping this along the way as I'm being educated, but in a cool way, and it's actually historical, give or take the ghosty part of it. And you're just seeing some old parts of the country, which would primarily be the east, not so much the west, but that's what I see myself drinking in.
Okay, so I kind of have two scenarios here, but they're both kind of similar. Um, First one being like like a cool crisp day, right? Like not hot, not cold. But you're kind of like walking, I wouldn't say a trail, but a like along a lake, you know,
Okay.
like a trail kind of along a lake. The other is golfing on a crisp day, but not on like a golf like a nice golf course, but like a backwoods golf course, you know, where there's a bunch of trees all around. So it's like really shady. You're like back in the sticks. Um, for me specifically, I'm thinking of near us over here, Texas National, like
Oh,
that
okay.
kind of golf course. Like that kind of layout. You know what I mean?
But in its prime,
Yeah, not well now it's shut down. So
not after years and years of neglect.
yeah. So that's what I get. Just a cool, crisp kind of walking around. Um, and honestly, I usually say whether or not I'm with people or not. I see myself being alone. I'm just chilling.
Okay,
So
that's a good one.
yeah,
I'll give you that throwdown. I could see myself. It's not quite my pint, but I could see myself drinking it.
yeah. It's not quite my my favorite IPA. Let's get into the scores here. You want me
Uh,
to go for? I'll go first. I think you
Kill it.
always go first, don't you?
No, I always go second. That's
Okay,
what I was gonna say.
well then you can go first then.
All right, so on entry, we talked about this very early on, but on entry, I have a four. This is really weird because this doesn't happen a lot. To me, the aftertaste is a five, and maybe that's because it's that
Mm,
hazy situation. Are you opposite or no?
I'm opposite. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a four on entry, but I think it mellows a little bit, and it's like not as harsh, and it leaves a decent taste in my mouth. So I've got it at a five. Body, I have it a five. I think it's thick enough. I think it coats well. It's great. Color, I have it at two, and I knew that coming out of the can. I don't. Yeah, it's not the haziness. I mean, the haziness is beautiful, but it needs to have some tone to it. To me, it looks like a sour. That's not an IPA. Bitterness, I have a three, just kind of dead center. It does the job, but nothing more. Acidity, I have a three. It's not over the top. It's not crazy. It does the job, but a little more. Fizz, I originally had at a four, but I'm actually going to drop that down to a two. I know that seems very drastic, but that's because you know, I usually do have thick, rich, enjoying burps. I haven't had anything come up. The body's been okay, but yeah, it's not really leaving anything. I'm not getting any other sense that's impacted aside from the taste from it. So, total score comes to a 24.
Okay.
Again, it's good. Like, it's not to the point where I'm like, I'll never drink it again. It's just like, I've not a huge IPA guy, but of all the IPAs I've had, well, I don't seek them out, but of all the ones that I've had, um, this one's very good and it's very drinkable, but I don't think it. I'm not gonna. Let me phrase it like this. I'm not gonna remember this one to tell somebody about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
get
be
what
like,
you mean.
oh, we went there and we had one, and it was a good IPA. And they're like, "Well, what is it?" And I'm like, "Nah, I don't really remember."
The only
You know what I mean?
reason I would remember it is because of the name.
Yes, I would give you that.
And I would only like it would be like a sight thing. Like I would see the name and be like, "Oh, I've had that." You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
I'm not gonna come home from a trip and be like, "Dude, I had the best IPA," and it was a whatever,
Yeah.
whatever, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I mean, our end scores are very similar, but our category scores are very different for the
It
most
happens.
part. So entry, I have it a 3. I think it's
Okay.
pretty middle of the road, kind of like you said. It's less than standard for me. Aftertaste, I have it a 2. I'm not a very big fan of the aftertaste on this one. It
Really?
kind of,
It's.
listen, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm drinking it straight out of the can. Um,
I mean, it's
you
not
know,
strong. It doesn't linger. It doesn't really change. If anything, it mellows. But yeah, do you?
but
Hey, it's
it
your
just,
score, bud.
yeah, I mean, it just kind of gives me like little bit of a weird flav, on the back end. So yeah, that's a 2. Body, I have it a 4. I think it's pretty standard as well. I mean, it's pretty solid flavor all around, especially for like a hazy. It's a little bit more fruity than a regular IPA, so it fits the hazy um, portion. Color, I had it a 5. I think we're pretty close on color in my eyes, especially for a hazy IPA.
Yeah,
Hazies are a little bit lighter and a little bit, well, I mean, the name says it. They're just hazier. You know what I mean? The look of them. Bitterness, I have it a 4. Pretty middle of the road again. Acidity, I have it a 4. And fizz, I have it a 3, brings my total score to a 25. The burps were there for me, but they weren't enjoyable, right? They weren't very pleasing. Um, and they didn't last very long. Like
I wish,
had a
I
couple.
wish, I wish that I would have been able to experience one. I mean, I'm not saying it was that terrible. I'm just saying like they didn't. I haven't had any of that belch relief that comes with a frothy.
Yeah, that's what I mean though is like I didn't get a lot of relief from them when I had them. You know what I mean? And it's been a while since I've had like a IPA where I actually sit and drink it, so my stomach could just be adjusting again, doing a little bit of an adjustment period. But um, it kind of usually when you burp, your stomach kind of gets relieved a little bit. You know what I mean? And that didn't happen with this. Like I would burp and still be like, ugh.
Yeah,
So so yeah. So my total is a 25. Your total is a 24. Yeah, I wouldn't seek it out again, other than the fact that I would see the branding and think it's cool and get it. But I would, like you said, if I saw it in passing, I'd be like, oh, I've had that. It's a decent one.
I
But
agree.
yeah. All right. Well, we've gotten to the point in the podcast where I'm going to tell you to go follow us on social media on Twitter and TikTok at Off the Tap Pod, and on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Off the Tap Podcast.
And we're back on the juice this week. Ready? Smoking barrels, breathing hops. That's the way the flavor pops. IPA DOA, dedicated to the flavor, baby. We need cans and facts, not fancy websites. Mustaches, cigarette ashes, and silver-wrapped ice-cold can sashes. Sweet like you're scared. Saloon Door prepared. That Doc Hoppiday hyper, the world's first canned gunfighter.